Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Powell Press. I am State Senator Bobby Powell, Jr., representing Senate District 24 in Palm Beach County. This is the Powell Press for the week of March 27th, week 4 of the 2023 legislative session. Oh, what a week it was. Let's get right into it. On Monday, I met with the Florida Youth Shine, a foster youth advocacy group, during Children's Week. Later that night, I joined the Society First Step panel discussion at Florida A&M University to discuss the need for criminal justice reform in America. Now, that followed with an interview with student journalist Skylar Boone from FAMU TV 20, Go Rattlers, and the School of Journalism and Graphic Communication. I also presented my bill, Senate Bill 836, before the Senate Criminal Justice Committee. The legislation, of course, which would toughen penalties against individuals who steal from nonprofit organizations, passed unanimously. And now it moves on to its second committee reference, scheduled for 3 Senate committee stops. On Tuesday, it was Links Incorporated Advocacy Day. It was also time for meetings with landscape architects, Palm Beach County food service representatives to discuss Senate Bill 1376 and the work being done to help feed the students in Palm Beach County. Now, this week's midpoint was divided into meetings and legislative action. I had a chance to speak to Marie Radigan and students from the Florida Student Power who support issues-driven campaigns, organize voters, and to create tactics to organize collective power for justice. I also met with Kaiser University, linked industry to nursing education, the Florida Association of Insurance Agents, the Florida College of Emergency Physicians, Elder Affairs Secretary Michelle Branham, Palm Beach County Tax Collector Ann Gannon, and the ACA Secretary, Wida. Now, on the legislative side, the anti-union legislation, this is Senate Bill 256, which I call the ultimate big government ploy, was heard by the full Senate on Wednesday. This will impact over 150,000 union-represented public employees in this state. Of course, I voted against this legislation. To me, it flies in the face of the so-called free state of Florida.
We heard earlier that this is government overreach, the ultimate big government ploy. We talk about this being a free state. Well, now we're dealing directly with how unions run their business. This is the government interfering with businesses, with the way they operate. There's no freedom attached to that.
By interfering in the rights of working people to organize. You want to talk about big government? This is big government at its best. Also on Wednesday, the governor's push against investing came before us in the Senate Banking and Insurance Committee. Senate Bill 302, which is aimed at the governor, what the governor calls wokeism, a boogeyman he conjures every time he wants to deflect from the problems that real people deal with, but he doesn't want to solve those problems, like, I don't know, skyrocketing property insurance rates. Well, I voted against this bill, which will likely hurt the state of Florida in the long run. In my legislative office, we deal with a lot of problems, but there hasn't been a single person or a single call from someone who says that we have a problem with ESG. Now, on Thursday, that brought the chance to meet with more constituents and more groups from around the state. These meetings included Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, Jack and Jill of Palm Beach County, the Realtors, who marked the Great American Realtors Day, the Secretary of the Department of Management Services, and let's not forget, Glaives Live Matter, who also presented me with an award. Now, this was the Champion of the Glades Award, which I will show you and you see as just an amazing opportunity to represent and advocate for the people of the Glades. On the legislative side, I had the opportunity to present to the Senate Rules Committee Senate Bill 678, legislation that I'm sponsoring, which will allow the Department of Transportation to transfer property to state entities to use for affordable housing and construction. Now, this was the bill's final Senate committee stop, and now it moves to the Senate floor. I also presented Senate Memorial 848 before the full Senate. Now, this memorial for the people of Iran, I sponsored along with my sponsor on the House side, Anna Eskamani, Representative Eskamani, we're calling on our national leaders to support the struggle for democracy by the people in Iran. The passage of good legislation like this and like the Senate memorial was tempered by the passage of some bad bills also on this same day. Now, at the top of the list was changes to the death penalty. Currently, Florida requires a unanimous vote to send someone to his or her death. That changes with Senate Bill 450, which will require only 8 jurors out of 12 to vote for death in the state. Now, this state leads the nation in the number of wrongful convictions, including those on death row. This downgrade to only 8 jurors is deeply troubling and makes Florida an outlier once again on capital cases, standing in line with only Alabama. Also on Thursday, the Senate passed HB 543, which removes the requirement of securing a permit, which included gun safety training in order to carry a concealed weapon outside of the home. Now, even though black people have been a growing segment of responsible gun owners, too many fail to see us as the good guys with the guns. Good men like Corey Jones, who was licensed to legally carry, are a testament to the unequal application of the Second Amendment in this state and in this country. Until the weaponization of skin color, like mine and others, changes, making it even easier to carry a concealed weapon invites death of more innocent victims who, while legal to carry under the law, are still seen as a threat in the eyes of others. More controversial legislation sent Thursday's session well into the evening hours. The Senate took up Senate Bill 300, legislation which will ban abortion after just 6 weeks, making it one of the toughest bans in the country. That bill is now ready for a final vote in the Senate on next week. Lastly, on Thursday evening, the same day that the indictment of Donald Trump was announced, the Senate Ethics and Elections Committee suddenly filed a draft proposal which will change the state elections law, likely to help the governor in his presumed run against Donald Trump for the Republican presidential nomination. Talk about timing. It's been a whirlwind of a week, but Friday brought the welcome respite of the Florida Legislative Black Caucus Luncheon and Scholarship Gala. Now, I was very excited to close out the week by attending these events that raise money for such a good cause. The Senate will again convene on Monday, April 3rd, 2023, and we'll be keeping an eye out for the final vote on abortion, as well as other controversial measures. The legislative process is in full swing. To track legislative action throughout the 2023 legislative session, please visit flsenate.gov and fill in the bill number in the search box and scroll down to Last Action. That is it for this week's edition of the Powell Press. I am State Senator Bobby Powell Jr., reminding you that a life of service is a life that counts. You can find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm so thankful that you joined us. Join us next week on the 5th edition, or the 5th week edition of the 2023 legislative session. Thank you, and see you all soon.